So, hello everybody. Welcome to the February 2026 SHARP information session. As I'm sure many of you know, SHARP is where we invite speakers to offer information sessions about resources, tools, and anything that's available to help English-speaking older adults to age in the right place. I am a new face for many of you, I'm sure. I'm Denise Beaton. I'm the new program manager for seniors at CHSSN. I started at CHSSN in spring of 2025 as a volunteer with the Risk and Quality Management Advisory Committee, and also with Jennifer and Erica, volunteering in terms of helping to improve the SHARP webinars behind the scenes. When Erica left her role, she encouraged me to apply, and I'm so thrilled that I did. I'm really pleased to be supporting the Seniors Wellness Initiative Network and SHARP here in Quebec, and I will be your facilitator for today's session. If you have any questions about the presentation or the resources provided, please contact the organization and the Sharpie that invited you. Today, I'm thrilled that we have Julie Lemieux here with us to support the various subsidies, both provincial and federal, that exist to support aging in place. Julie is the Director of Finance at CHSSN, where she's been keeping everything running smoothly for more than 3 years. She has over 30 years of experience in the finance world and handles everything from budgeting and financial statements to year-end processes and the management of 10 different programs. Before joining the CHSSN, Julie worked both in the public and private sectors, including serving as CFO for a mining exploration company. That mix of environments helped her build a wide range of skills she now uses every day. Today, she supports more than 60 organizations across different regions, offering training and guidance to help teams better understand their finances and feel more confident with their numbers. Julie's known for her practical approach, her willingness to learn whatever's needed, and her commitment to helping organizations strengthen their financial capacity. And as somebody newer to CHSSN, I can share that she's already been an incredible resource for myself, and I'm thrilled that she's joined us today to be a resource for you all as well. Julie, please begin.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good
Thank
morning.
you, thank you so much for that welcome. I'm very thrilled to be part of this financial subsidies presentation this morning. English is not my first language, so please be patient with me. And just to make sure, I would like to make a little disclosure at this moment before we start the presentation. And I want to let you know that all the information that I'm sharing today is general information. It means to give you an overview and help you understand the main concept, but I'm not a tax expert, so I cannot give you go into individual situation or provide personalized advice. Eligibility for tax credit and program can vary from one person to another depending on their circumstance. For specific question about your own situation, I would encourage you to consult a qualified professional or refer to official government resources, which I will share at the end of the presentation where you can get the information. Okay, so the financial subsidies to help senior age in place, it's kind of very sensitive subject for many of you, for many seniors. And I wish I can help each of you one to one, but unfortunately, as we said before, it won't be possible. But we'll go through some other resources that you can get and get your life much easier. So for the introduction, let's see that aging in place means staying in one's own home safely, independently, and comfortably as long as possible. It's something that is very important for senior to stay home and be keep their own autonomy in place. So many senior prefer this option, but it's often require home adaptation, support services, and financial planning. Fortunately, several tax credit grants and subsidies exist to help reduce the cost to stay home. The reason why aging in place matters, it's we're gonna see some benefits for senior. It's maintain your independence and your dignity, which is very important when we're getting a little bit older and we're losing some mobility. Sometimes it's very important to keep independence and dignity. It's also preserve the social connection and routine. We know that people have their own routine, and when we change that, your day to day, sometimes it's confusing for seniors. So that's why when you stay home, it's more better to stay with your all your social connection and keep you inside your routine. And it's often more affordable than long-term care facilities. We know that uh, private uh, uh, private care system, it's sometimes it's very expensive. So when people can stay home, it's much better. And it's also support emotional well-being and qualify of life and the quality of life. So we feel it's more important to stay home when you can get the chance to make it. It's also have some benefits for the societies, which will reduce the pressure on healthcare and long-term care system. Um, we know the situation over Quebec City, so I don't need to talk about it. And it's also encourage accessible, inclusive community. So then we're gonna go through some key financial support that you can get. For the federal program, the three main credit that you can try to get, it's the home accessibility tax credit, which is a non-refundable tax credit for home renovation that improves accessibility and safety to your place. I mean, if you're getting a little bit um, losing mobility or having some issue to go take your shower or something like that, you can have some grab bars, some bank that you can put on your bathtubs, or so there's a lot of things that can be accessible for the tax credit. And it will help senior or those supporting a senior living with them. I mean, it's going to be more people, if you have somebody who's taking care of you or helping you on your day to day, that will be great that that person be also confident that you being at home is a safe place. So it's very important to make sure that you get all the support for that. You can also get the medical expense tax credit, which cover a wide range of medical expense, including some own modification and assistive device, which, as we said, the grab bar, the all the accessories that you can need to stay home can be part of the medical expense tax credit. You can also have for people that are with you or helping you on your day-to-day, have the Canada Caregiver credit for that person. For the credit will be for people supporting a spouse, a common law partner, or dependent with a physical or mental impairment. For sure, it's a lot of information, but if you go on the website of each government, you will have a lot of detail about what you can get and if you are eligible to those kind of credit. And it will sometimes it can help make your life better. We can also go to the Quebec provincial program, and which is one of the most important one. It's the tax credit for home support service for senior, which we call the crédit d'impôt pour le maintien à domicile. This is one of the highest credit that the provincial government give, and it's a refundable tax credit for service such as the housekeeping, the meal preparation, your personal care, your snow removal, remote monitoring system. I mean, sometimes if you are at the risk to fall or something like that, you can get some bracelet, or that if you fall, they will advise somebody. So that kind of things can be can be paid by the tax credit support. So this one is very important, and it's large. As you see, the service that you can get, and there's some other more. It's very a good tax credit. Uh, and if you increase in age, the credit will also increase at the same moment. You know, if you get higher than 70 years, then you know it will improve. The credit will increase. Um, there's also the PAD program, which is the Financial Assistance for Residential Adaptation. It's almost the same as the federal one. So it will help to pay for the permanent home modification. You know, if you need now to get a wheelchair, sometime, you know, you will have to have a ramp to go to your place. And if it's acceptable, they can help you to pay for that kind of improvement for your house and keeping you helping you to stay at home. Um, it's available for the homeowner and the renter. So if some renter wants to help their people to stay at their apartment, it can be a good benefit for their building. We also have the shelter allowance program, l'allocation logement, which will help in low income for help senior with low incomes to pay their rent, their mortgage, and their property taxes. Um, Sometimes it can be difficult to get through, but when you make it the first time, then after it will be easier. Um, Sometimes they are asking a lot of documentation to fill out, so it's very it can be hard, but it's worth it, you know, to make it because it will help you to lower your costs staying at home. And there's also the Revenu Québec Medical Expense Tax Credit, which is the provincial version of the federal one. It covers certain home modification and assistance device, as we discussed with the PAD program. Um, how this program can help senior age in place. So they will reduce their financial barrier. Renovation become affordable, support service become accessible, and caregiver receive financial relief to help them to take care of you. They improve safety and independence. So fewer fall and accident, better mobility inside the home, ability to remain in familiar surrounding. We will see a little bit further that sometime to make sure that you can improve your situation on your home, you will need to get some assistance for that. And usually, if you go through your CLSC, you can have a social worker or ergotherapist that can go to your place to evaluate your place and make sure it's a safety environment for you and give you some recommendation to improve what you need to get in place to make sure it's going to be safe for you. So if we go over some practical example, we can see the example number one. You know, a 75 years old senior install a walk-in shower and grab bar. That person should be eligible for the medical credit on the federal and the PAD program in the provincial. Sorry about it. It's the home accessibility tax credit, the financial assistance for residential adaptation, which will help you to make sure you can get all the safe, properly things to keep you at home. If we go with the example number two, for an 82 years old living alone with weekly housekeeping and meal preparation, this person will be eligible for the Québec Home Support Tax Service, which is the crédit au maintien à domicile. It's the most important credit, as discussed before, for the provincial government, and it's really helped many people to stay home. And the example three, sorry, it's the daughter support her aging father with mobility issue. So that person can be eligible for the Canada Caregiving Credit and the provincial medical expense credit. So all um, all the things that the caregiver will need to make sure that her father stay in place in home will be part of the provincial medical expense credit to make sure that you can stay home and safely. The tips for senior and families. So as soon as you make an expense and you expect to have some reimbursement for those expense, you need to make sure that you keep all the receipt. At this moment, when you fill out your income tax at the end of the year, sometimes they're not asking for all documentation, but they might do it. So that's why you need to make sure that you keep all your receipt on your envelope, on an envelope for each year that you are making your expenses. And that way you will make sure to be able to prove your expense and they will still be eligible for the credit that you request for. Also, to make sure that you can claim something on your tax, on your income tax report, you need to cancel both federal and provincial tax guide. We'll have a little overview a little bit later, but it's very an important guide that it's 80 page or 60 page. It's a very big document, but sometime if you want to get more detail to see if you can get this credit, what is the eligibility criteria. So then the provincial and federal guide will be helpful for you. If you are making some renovation to your house, I mean, if you are installing a ramp, if you are changing your bath to get, something more safer, make sure that you ask the contractor if their work is qualified for the tax credit. And especially if the contractor is a registered one. I know sometimes it's not easy for people to make sure that they are allowed to make it, but you know, unfortunately, the government has most of the time the last word. So that's why I'm telling you to make sure that all the money that you engage to do something, make sure to get a receipt or get a contract for it, and that will be easier to prove to the each both side of the government that it's a right expense to claim for. And the other thing, it's the to make sure that you are very safe and you are comfortable with your own situation, it's always important to contact your local CLSCs or community organization for guidance. As I told you, sometimes you think you are okay, but when a social worker get to your place and they can say, "Oh my God, this thing, you should." Probably have that kind of thing instead of this one because it's going to be more safer. So having a professional advice to make sure that, it's safe to stay home, it's very important. So please do not hesitate. And sometimes, the list can be long. So try to contact them and have some resource to your place to make sure at least you got the first evaluation to make sure that your environment is safe and comfortable for yourself. For the conclusion, aging in place is not only possible, it can be financially support. So if you can get all the right support, it can help you very much to make sure that you still comfortable on your own life. Tax credit and subsidies can significantly reduce the cost of home adaptation and support service. So sometimes if you really want to stay home, it can be a good thing to look at all the credit you can get and all the arrangement that you can make to your house to make sure to stay there. And with the right information, senior can remain safe, comfortable, and independent at home for longer. I repeat it many times since the beginning. So it's very important to stay safe, comfortable, and being okay with ourselves to make sure that you are comfortable with it. So do not hesitate to contact the local CLSC or community organization to make sure that you receive the guidance necessary to stay home. So now for some financial help for older adults living alone, or even if you stay with a partner or a spouse, this is the same thing. You can go to your local volunteer action center. They will help you to fill out some forms to make sure that you fill it out correctly, and it's and you have all the element that needs to send it. They will help you to support, understand all your bills and your official documentation. Sometimes when you receive um, paper from the government, it can be very confusing. So you can touch base with your volunteer action center, and they can explain it to you if it's very important, or if it's just information, or if you have something to do with that letter. So it can be very important. And they can also help you with the basic budgeting help. They can give you some help to make sure that you can go over months after months and make sure you can sustain your own expense for being at home. You can also go with, as I told before, the CLSC social worker. This person will make make an oversee of all your situation. They will go to your place, they will visit it, they will analyze what is good for you, and they can also coordinate some services. So if they feel like you need to get more services, more if you have having issue with your mobility, sometimes the housekeeping can be very difficult. So they can give you some help about it. So they can give you some hours to make your life easier every week, every 2 weeks, depends on your situation. So they will evaluate all your daily living and financial management, and they will see what they can do to support yourself to stay home and have you a better life. If you have issue with your income tax program, which was not really the problem with the poll with the survey at the beginning, but you also have the volunteer income tax program, which every year the volunteers helping the senior to make senior will low income to make their tax the income tax report at the end of the year, and they will also help you to understand the credit and benefit that you may be missing, because sometimes people think I can make it by my own, or my son, my daughter can make it, but sometimes they are not specialists on that, so they don't know all the credit tax that you can get. So if you go with the volunteer income tax program, they will be able to make sure that you don't miss any credit that you should be eligible for. So if we look at the resource, for sure, if people want, we will share the presentation. So you will have the resource, so you don't necessarily have to take note on your side. So, it will be available. So if we go to the federal income tax and benefit information, the income tax return guide, the provincial one, and the federal one, as I told you before, it's really a guide with 60 page and 80 page, so sometimes it's very confusing, but there's une table des matières. I don't know how we say it in English, but the where you have all the table of content, if it's better. Okay. Um, so you can try to figure what you want, and they will tell you which page you need to go, so it's easier. For people that are caregiver, you have the website de Proche Aidance. Unfortunately, the website is in French at this moment. It's not translated yet, and I don't know if there's an English version to that site, but it's very a nice site for people. It's help even the caregiver and the person that's receiving the help to go through a lot of things. So they are discussing a lot of things, and they are sharing a lot of resources also. For sure, your local CLSC. So I'm sure you already know where it is and how to contact the CLSC. You also have the NPI, the Network Program Initiative. SHARP is part of this program. So for the CHSSN, we do have 23 main organization around the province of Quebec. You can go on the CHSSN map website and go to the map right over, and then you click on interactive map. So you will be able to click on your region and you will go through their website to make sure that you can contact them easily. And for the volunteer program, for the tax assistance, as I discussed before, you do have a website where you can get the form to fill out and get the need that you will request for.
Are these all dependent on level of income?
There's a lot of depend about the income that you receive, unfortunately. But you will have to go through the guide to see what is the level. Sometime, it's there's so many questions you can ask. If you have a spouse, if you don't have a spouse, if you live together, if you live on separate things. So it's very important to make sure that before you engage or you commit the expense, that you make sure you will be eligible with your situation.
Yeah. And because these questions came in while Julie was presenting, I also took some notes down. So from Julie's presentation, I'll add that yes, some supports are income-based, especially those meant to help lower income seniors like the shelter allowance or certain refundable tax credits. Others like the home accessibility tax credit or the medical expense tax credit aren't strictly income-based. But my understanding is that the amount of benefit you receive can still be influenced by your income and tax situation. So I think calling back to Julie's earlier advice around looking at each program individually and speaking with your CLSC or a tax professional, or if you qualify, one of the volunteers for specific guidance. Would someone aged 60 who is on long-term disability be able to apply for these?
Even if you're on disability, um, this is not this is not an issue for the grant or the subsidies. It's
Mhm.
as soon as you require some things to be adapt to your place, or it's you can be eligible. Now you just need to make sure that you fulfill all the requirement,
Mhm.
but it's not because you're on disability that you cannot get those credit or subsidies.
Yeah, and from my understanding as well, again, it's very specific to the individual context. So a number of federal supports like the home accessibility tax credit and the medical expense tax credit are available to people with disabilities, not only people aged 65 plus. So for this person who's 60, they would be eligible for those. And then again, as you mentioned, the Canada Caregiver Credit is for anyone who's supporting a person with a physical or mental impairment. And then for Quebec programs, some are specifically for seniors 65 plus, but others like the home adaptation funding that Julie mentioned, that might be available based on disability or mobility needs rather than age alone. So again, very much specific criteria. So speaking with a CLSC or tax advisor is helpful to see what applies in that situation, as Julie mentioned, and I might be saying that a lot.
No,
Um,
but that's okay. That's the way to do it. So
yeah,
we just need to make sure that you are going through all that process to make sure that you can get everything you can.
to receive a caregiver tax credit, do you have to be all at the same address?
Not necessarily,
Hmm.
but the you cannot be accounted as a caregiver if you I mean, for my personal issue, okay, my mom
Hmm.
is on a CHSLD, okay, and I cannot be her home caregiver because I do have my own home with my own work, so I'm not taking care of that person all the time. So
Hmm.
if you are taking care of that person all the time and you're having a lot of time with that person, then you will have to make sure that you qualify. But yes, you can get some credit for that. But it needs to be kind of your first job.
Yeah, this is another one where it varies quite a bit. So you don't have to live at the same address, but for some caregiver credits, supporting someone who lives with you can make the eligibility a lot more
Oh, yes.
straightforward. But there's also situations where you can claim a credit for supporting someone who lives elsewhere, as long as they have a recognized impairment. And as Julie mentioned, that you're providing very regular support, and there's different guidelines for the specific federal or provincial credit around what that support looks like. So again, your CLSC or tax professional would be able to get into those specifics with you, but a good thing to bring up. Do all tax accountants know of these credits, or do you have to tell them about the credit?
Normally they should know. It's part of their job and they
Mhm.
are trained for it. Sometimes, they can probably forget a little things, but if you go deeper and you ask, if you ask them, can I make that things, or can I have this things, then they will probably remind them some credit that, it's not necessarily credit that they are used to deal with them very often. So sometimes if
Mm.
you raise a flag because you have a question, do not hesitate to ask your question, and then they will make all the research necessary to make sure that you are okay with it. And the resource that I showed on my presentation, which was the volunteer income tax program, they are used to get those kind of questions. So if you contact them, it might be long, but if you get the answer, they will be able to help you much easily. Keep in mind that the government and people, this is one of the direct line. They want to try to keep longer their senior at home. So as soon as you have something to help you to stay home, you might have a credit for.
There is a lot of support in terms of helping people age in the right place. And, I think for tax accountants, they're probably very familiar with federal and Quebec tax credits. But the more specific programs related to aging in place or home support services might be less top of mind, especially if somebody doesn't mention them. So think about what you need and always bring receipts and let your accountant know about any home adaptations, support services, or caregiving situations. Even if they already know the credits, that information helps them make sure that nothing is missed. And, as Julie mentioned, you know what you need, you know what you're using, and make sure that you share that information. If I am 60 and require financial aid for a ramp on account of physical impairment and low income, am I eligible?
You might be. I don't want to create your expectation, but
Mhm.
sometimes if it's especially, if you receive, um, your social worker at home, and they recommend it pretty strongly, it might be more easier.
Mm.
So, when you have to make a lot of change to your house, you have to make sure that you have an official recommendation for. You cannot just say, do I need it? Or it can be good to have it.
Mm.
You have to make sure that you have a recommendation uh, that will be helpful for you to
Mm.
stay home.
Mhm.
So if you have that recommendation, your situation will be more eligible if you respect all the criteria. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can be a pro rate of the amount. It cannot be the total amount. So just figure that you can have a certain amount to pay from your pocket, but you can ask before what can be the credit, and then they will be able to help you.
I am a caregiver for my husband who has dementia. What are the steps required for me to qualify for caregiver tax credits?
If if you live, if you're taking care of that person, you live probably on the same house, then you can get the credit for sure. Okay. Now, the other question, we can go. deeper, but the other question is um, somebody with special needs. Sometimes, it's not easy for the caregiver to take care of that person. So you need to make sure that you are safe before making somebody safe. If you're not very comfortable to take care of a person with disability, or um, then you will have to get some more resource from your CLSC. But you need to make sure that when you are a caregiver, you are okay with this situation before giving your help.
In terms of the actual steps for the caregiver tax credits, um, first step would be to confirm eligibility. So your husband would need to be considered as having a physical or mental impairment, which dementia typically, yes, definitely qualifies for. You would need to have medical confirmation. So a doctor or nurse practitioner would need to complete and sign a form confirming his condition and level of impairment. You can't just write that without that documentation. Again, governments love documentation. And then determine the right tax credit. So at the federal level, that could be the Canada Caregiver Credit. And in Quebec, there might be additional provincial measures. I'm less familiar with Quebec, having only been here a little over a year. Um, which ones you apply for depend on whether you live together and the level of support you provide. And as we've been saying all along, keep documentation, save any relevant medical confirmation and records of support. And then the credit would be applied when you file your income taxes or through the person who prepares your income taxes.
And there's also another difference that might be important if your spouse is dementia. There's two levels. There's non-autonomous and autonomous. So
Mm.
this, if you get the paper from your physician that that person is non-autonomous, then you will receive more credit to afford uh, to help that person.
Ruth shares, what I found most important was to be certain that we used a certified person for any modifications to our home. Also, the importance of keeping all our receipts in one place throughout the year so we have everything when it is time to do our taxes. I have one spot slash container that everything goes into and is so handy. Really, do you have any thoughts around practical ways that people can make this sometimes overwhelming process seem a little more straightforward?
But I think root is perfect,
Yeah.
having a box, having an envelope, a big envelope, to make sure that you keep all the documentation that you receive by post, by email if you are okay with it, but to have a box to keep all your receipt, when you go to the pharmacy to pick up your medication, you know that you can claim the difference that you pay from your own pocket. So, but you need to have the receipt, as I told at the beginning of the presentation. Sometime if you do your tax credit, they don't ask for documentation. So,
Mm.
but they might later. They might come
Mhm.
back 3 years later. So that's why you need to keep track of all these expenses to make sure that it will balance with your income. So make sure that you have a box, a big envelope, and to have one for each year. And it's nice to have a copy of your income tax at the same moment, so you keep it on your files, and then if they come back later, it will be much easier for you to make sure that you receive all the credit and all the money that you already receive, or.
Some tax credit forms require a doctor's evaluation. What do you do if you don't have a doctor? Yeah.
I'm so sorry about the situation. It's unfortunately a lot of people going through that problematic, and I just don't know what to say.
Hmm.
If you can try, sometimes they need a doctor evaluation, but if you go through your CLSC, maybe it will be easier to get a social worker that will, they have some contact on their side and they can probably make something. But unfortunately, we cannot go against the way the system is at this moment, and remain remain that if you really feel that you need something and you don't have a doctor, you have to go through the emergency at the hospital.
Is nail cutting considered a medical expense?
It is, okay?
Yeah.
It is a lot of, and make sure there's a lot of nurse that making that kind of things, especially a podiatric nurse.
Mm,
And yes, you have to have the receipt. Okay,
hmm.
they have to issue a receipt. You keep the receipt as medical medication, and then you can have it through your income tax.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, this is another thing where if it is provided by a nurse, podiatrist, or other recognized healthcare provider who provides receipts like that, usually for that service, generally it is for somebody who has conditions like diabetes or mobility limitations. So you may already be documenting that condition through your taxes. And so it would just link up with that. But if it's routine cosmetic nail care, generally not eligible. But again, part of a medical foot care to prevent complications. Keep your proper receipts, as Julie said, and it might be claimable under medical expense credits. So again, something to look into further for sure. I wanted to end on one comment, which is it's impossible to get an appointment to speak with someone at a CLSC, but this has been referred to through the presentation a number of times. And, you know, you're right. Accessing a CLSC can be challenging and wait times can be long. We suggest them because they're one of the main entry points for assessments and information, but they're not the only option. So if reaching a CLSC is difficult, you can also try your local Centre d'Action Bénévole, CAB, which often helps connect seniors to services and navigate programs. This has also been recommended. Community organizations in your area that work with older adults, like the community organizations involved with SHARP, right? You can reach out to Revenue Quebec or the CRA directly for tax-related credits and questions, and then a tax preparer or accountant, either through the volunteer program for low-income seniors or one in your community. And if you're having issues with this process, I know it's been a lot of information that's been shared. Those community organizations are there to help advocate or guide you through it. Um,
And
so,
if
yes.
also you have, if you have a physician, if you have a doctor, a recommendation for your doctor, they will go through the system. So sometimes it will be easier to get through a social worker when you get a recommendation for a doctor. So I know that's
Mhm.
not somebody who have a doctor, but when they recommend in the system, it can be long, but you will receive a call sometime
Mhm. Mhm.
when
Yeah.
it's recommended.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here this morning. I hope you will share with somebody else what you learned today. And on behalf of all of us, Julie, a huge thank you for this information session and for your time.
I wish I can do more.
Oh, you've done so much. There's
So,
never been such a detailed question and answer period. I think we really put you in the hot seat, and you've replied to everything beautifully and within your professional limits, right? Until next time, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
thank you.